Hello everyone! So, first things first, this is going to be a negative video. If this is not your thing, I have tons, and I mean tons, of positive, uplifting, fun, makeup-related content. Plus, there really is no shortage of other content on this platform. I won't be entertaining any arguments with people. That's not the purpose of this video. This isn't a pro-con. This isn't talking about why you should buy these things. This is entirely 100% about reasons not to buy things. That is, in my opinion, the purpose and the intention of an anti-haul. It is the opposite of a haul. And yes, I do happen to say you a lot, as if I'm directly speaking to a person or to like myself in the mirror. That is just how I speak. So I thought that I would mention that because it has been brought up to me in the past that it bothers people, but it's how I speak and it's the best way for me to be able to get my points across. So if this all sounds like something that would bother you, please leave now. Nobody is forcing you to watch this. Please, just for your sake and mine, go somewhere else. Okay, so are they gone? I think they're gone. All right, so with that out of the way, I wanted to bring a return of some of my favorite content to do, which is the stuff that has gotten me labeled as being a negative person. I'm not really a negative person, I just have a lot of feelings. And I really do enjoy doing these sort of videos, anti-hauls, talking about brands that bore me. I like to explore the other side of things. So I thought for my first anti-haul, I would do a brand-focused one, and I'm going to do ColourPop because they release new products every 5 minutes. If you are interested, I will be doing a very quick ColourPop history video sometime pretty soon. I meant to have it up a little earlier, but I was kind of hoping that I would get a little bit more traffic on some of my other videos. I've been working really hard on the content that I do create, and it is a little disappointing when things don't get sort of the views or the acknowledgement that I want them to, especially when I spend so much time on them. So I just kind of want to let things sit for a little bit longer, and hopefully people will watch them. So if you haven't watched some of my older videos and you would like to support me, please do go and check those out. But in that video, I will be talking about ColourPop's business practices and how they are so proud of how quickly they can produce and manufacture product. They do proudly label themselves the fast fashion equivalent of the beauty industry. I think that's really, really important to mention here because one of the key things that ColourPop does is manufacture demand. Things sell out quickly in order to build hype because it works. They've proven time and time again that this works. Products will be released in short bursts so that people keep talking about it. And yes, even if people are angry and talking about how they didn't get the product that sells out, that increases the hype. That gets people interested. People who might not have heard about it before are hearing about it now because people are plastering social media with how disappointed they are because they are so upset and brokenhearted that the palette that they really had their hopes and dreams set on was sold out within a couple of minutes. This gets ColourPop publicity. People go to the site and check things out. People will buy things. It's a tale as old as time. And they're not restocking popular products, again, because people are looking for them. People are interacting and engaging with their social media, asking for these products to come back. They're not going to have restocks of popular products when there's new launches because why would they want you to make one order when you could make multiple? They're also not going to have large quantities of restocks when there's massive sales because people will come back and look for these things when they're restocked, when the sale is over. It's all tactics used in order to get you to spend your money. But people keep talking about things and people keep demanding things to come back because they are so eager to give this company their money. And one of the biggest things I think that ColourPop has capitalized on is eyeshadow palettes. They didn't have eyeshadow palettes when they began, but they have a lot of eyeshadow palettes now, and that's what I'm going to focus mostly on because I feel like those are the things that most people seem to be interested in, are the eyeshadow palettes. Plus there's a new one coming out and I really want to talk about that one. So I think the idea of trying to collect everything isn't really very smart. There's no reason to collect something like ColourPop eyeshadow palettes. Not every shade, not every shadow is going to look good on you. There's a lot of repetition. I don't understand the people who feel like they need to be completionists for makeup brands. Plus, many of these are limited edition, or they will pull them without any notice. Like they're basically limited edition, but permanent until otherwise, I guess, because they have gotten rid of a lot of things that they have labeled as permanent in the past. For most people, like the average consumer, I feel like having limited edition products that are constantly being sort of overshadowed by new releases makes it difficult to get inspired to use things. People are using it when they get it, and then they are moving on to the next thing. So if you're somebody who really relies on other people to give you inspiration for using things, you're going to be out of luck with ColourPop things because there's so many of them, and people aren't going back to the same things over and over again. So with that sort of general anti-haulness out of the way, let's talk about specific things. Let's talk about the child, the Baby Yoda eyeshadow palette. Really. The minute I saw them tease this, I was like, nope, no, let's not, please, let's not do this. It's cute. And most people are gonna want this because the packaging is adorable. They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. ColourPop knows what they're doing, and they are going to manufacture some cute packaging. This really is capitalizing on cutesy. I think it's kind of cringy, and honestly, I'm really glad that the peak of the Baby Yoda meme phase has ended, because I hated seeing all the people, like grown-ass adults, using pictures of Baby Yoda to talk about their obsession with chicken nuggies. Like, I really just, yeah, I have some thoughts. Again, I'll refer you back to the beginning. If you're gonna be offended, you can still leave, because I'm not holding anything back. I really think the Baby Yoda memes were as bad as the Minion memes that, like, your mom's coworker posts on Facebook. That's exactly what they are like. Plus, this is just a really big marketing ploy for Disney Plus to promote a film. I think it's a film. I honestly know nothing about it. I was a big Star Wars fan of the original trilogy, and then the 3 movies that followed afterwards. I no comment on the newer stuff since Disney took over, basically. And this is definitely Disney. Like, Disney is one of those companies that knows what they're doing when it comes to marketing, and they are going to capitalize on it, and ColourPop's going along for the ride. Using babies and animals in advertising is one of the oldest tricks in the book. Generally, most humans react positively to small things, especially if you have something that has large eyes and like chubby cheeks. It's going to look pretty sweet and innocent, and the instinct is going to be to like nurture and protect and love, and they've got that with the Baby Yoda. Plus it also has sort of that somewhat cutesy like baby animal factor, you know, like puppy videos and kitten videos are very popular, and generally speaking, people are more into like cutesy little kittens and puppies than they are like full-grown cats and dogs. And that's sort of the same thing that the Baby Yoda achieves, is because it's the smaller, tiny, cutesy version of the older creature, the creature that's not as cutesy and lovable that we know. So by making it cutesy, it's going to appeal to people. But really, why spend your money on cutesy packaging for an eyeshadow palette that's going to like live in a drawer or something, when if you are really into the child and you don't already have merch, like get a coffee mug, a t-shirt, jewelry. I'm sure earrings exist, a face mask. Hey, that's the newest accessory. Put what you love on your face mask. You're wearing it a lot, I hope. Also, if you don't have green eyeshadow at this point, you don't want green eyeshadow. Green palettes have been around. ColourPop even has a few that they've released, Just My Luck and Mint to Be, which are very similar to this one. I can't even believe that they're trying to pass this off as a monochromatic green palette. It's not monochromatic. These are not all shades of green. I'm very confused by ColourPop's labeling here. But people, you know, green eyeshadow has been trendy and a lot of people are into greens, but if you don't have them already, I don't think the IKEA monkey is going to convince you to put them on your eyelids. You are going to look at the packaging until you get tired of it and maybe display it, maybe. But if you were gonna display a packaging, you could display a poster or something else that would have a longer shelf life and be easier to display than an eyeshadow palette. Moving on. The Stone Cold Fox palette is a big eyeshadow palette. It is 30 eyeshadows. This is going to be incredibly awkward to use. If you've ever seen those big like Morphe eyeshadow palettes, I'm assuming that's what it looks like. It's going to be big, it's going to be awkward, it's going to be a little bit challenging to store, it's going to be difficult to use. There's no mirror, so depending on how you use it, could also be a factor. I know personally I like to have a mirror in my eyeshadow palettes because I like to get close to things, and that's why I don't tend to use the things that don't have mirrors as much. This is not the rule, this is just in general because of how I apply my makeup. There's also a lot of repetition here. A lot of these shadows look the same. Why would you pay to have shadows that look so similar and that are going to apply so similarly? Like, I like that it's a cool tone shadow palette, but there's not enough difference in here in order to be able to create really different looks, like looks that are going to noticeably look different. Plus, I think mini eyeshadow palettes are where it's at as opposed to these big things, because you get so much product in these large things, these large palettes, as opposed to the minis. You get smaller pan sizes, you have a greater color scheme, greater color story that's told with, you know, a concise amount of shadow. It's going to be easier to store and easier to use than something that's so large. With something as big as Stone Cold Fox, like, you're never even gonna get close to hitting pan on these shadows unless this is your only eyeshadow palette. Or if you are into faux panning and, you know, you want to dig a little hole into the palette, take a picture, and become famous on the niche panning side of Instagram. Yes, there are people who fake pan for likes, I guess. Is that who this appeals to, so that they can buy it and then show how they've panned it in like a month? I don't understand the big palettes. I think ColourPop would have been better off doing a more concise color story with the smaller palettes. I think that their 9-pan palettes are where it's at. The Sandstone palette. Cultural appropriation. I honestly didn't know it was cultural appropriation at first, and then once I learned that it was, that was it. Why would you buy something that's offensive to Indigenous people? If you're still considering it, reevaluate, educate yourself. Wild Nothing has one interesting shadow. Don't fall for it. The placement grabs your attention so you don't notice the border of boring shadows. Go for a single or two and save your money. Honestly, this is a trick that ColourPop does. It's all about the layout so that your eye goes right to those one or two handful of unique shadows there, and you just sort of skip over the rest of them. But really, take a minute, rearrange it in your mind. If you're lazy, I'm sure people have already rearranged this, because this is not a new concept to rearrange the shadows in there, so you can see what it looks like when it's arranged differently. And I feel like that's an easy way to talk a lot of people out of eyeshadow palettes, specifically the ColourPop ones that capitalize on like that pop of color thing, because they really just trick your mind. Little Ray of Sunshine is an all matte 9-pan palette. So I would ask, will you actually use all of these shadows? Would you pair it with other things? How would you make it work for you? Because it's not a palette that I feel like most people would use strictly on its own. They would pair it with other things. I'm not saying people don't do strictly matte looks, but a lot of people do incorporate shimmer in some way, and it's not laid out for you. So it does involve some creativity, some creative thinking. You have to kind of figure out what pairs well with what, and what you can work with what you already have and match things together. That's not going to be for everybody. Not everybody likes something that you kind of have to think about and work with, as opposed to just be like, oh, shimmer, matte, dark shadow, light shadow, done. This is something that does require a little bit more thought. Plus, also, do you like yellow? The yellow tones are strong in this one, and if you're not a fan of yellow, then this doesn't make sense, despite it looking pretty. Nude Mood, warm tone neutral shadows. If you don't have a warm toned neutral eyeshadow palette, or just you don't have any warm tone neutral shadows, I don't know why you're watching an anti-haul, but anyway, I'm assuming most people have these shadows. They are nothing unique. They're warm tone neutrals. Dig out those single shadows you promised you were going to use. go to your bathroom or your makeup counter and dig out that Anastasia, Urban Decay, Too Faced, Tarte, Huda Beauty, whatever, insert brand name here, palette or palettes that have been sitting there waiting for you to use them instead. They miss you. Your neglected eyeshadows miss you. They want to be used. Please go swatch them, because I promise you will find so many dupes for this palette. Coast Coral, whatever, and Blush Crush are all variations of the same. I know they're not identical. I know that there's different shadows, but it's pink. It's pink. Look, a lot of these look aesthetically pleasing. A lot of these eyeshadow palettes are just pretty to look at. They look nice in the pan. That doesn't mean they're gonna look nice on your face. It doesn't mean that you're going to like the way that they look on your face. Not everybody likes the way that they look with pink eyeshadow. That's just how it is. It doesn't mean it has to be flattering for you. I think that's a whole bunch of BS. It doesn't matter if you have warm skin or cool skin, if you like to wear cool tones and you have a warmer complexion, if you like to wear warm tones and you have a cooler complexion, you do you. Has nothing to do with that, but you might not actually like it. And this is a lot of pink. And I feel like if you got all of these things, you would just end up creating the same looks over and over again because they are so similar. And garden variety. So take the previous 3 palettes I mentioned and add in a couple of purples and a green. So innovative. Again, it tricks you though, right? I honestly, if you had like a metallic purple and some sort of shimmery or metallic green and you paired it with your pink shadows, your warm earth tones, you would essentially have this palette. It's going to trick you because of that row of purples and that green shadow, but the purples are all very repetitive. I don't really think you need very many, and just adding it in with what you already have, like instead of having a whole palette, you have a single or 2, 3 singles even, and you have less waste and you've taken up less space. The Single Shock eyeshadows, the first ColourPop product, the sort of special ColourPop products, they're really fussy to use. They look pretty, they swatch really well, but like a heavy finger swatch on your arm or the back of your hand is going to look very, very different than how it applies on your eyelid. I know this from experience. I had like 60 of these, which I ended up tossing all of them because they all dried out so fast and you cannot save them. It's not worth trying to save them. I did try to save them, like with the Inglot Duraline and stuff. It doesn't work. Like once you try to save it, once they crumble, they do, and they break really easily. They're very fragile. You try to repress them, they never work the same again. It's just not worth it. Having so many of them, it's like pretty to look at. They're pretty to use for a very short period of time. So when you have too many of them, they just go to waste. And that's the same thing for the Super Shock face products as well. I had some really cool Super Shock cheek products in the past that looked really cool, and they you know, were really reflective, but once they dried out, that was it. They were done, and they really had such a short shelf life. If you have other things you want to use those first. Otherwise, you have to really focus on these, because I swear, like 6 months, less than a year basically, they're going to be useless. And lip products, just a general thing. Who's wearing lip products now, unless you're home, like you're taking photos for Instagram or whatever. I don't feel like a lot of people are like relaxing at home with like their bright colored lipstick on. I'm not anyway. You should be responsible and be wearing a mask when you are out in public, which means that you would not probably wear lipstick because nobody's gonna see it. I mean, wear it for you, sure, but it's gonna smudge everywhere. I've done this. I was testing out some lipsticks and I was wearing them like with my mask on top of it. It was just like lipstick smeared in the mask and smeared all over my face. Not a good look, not a good look. So these also turn really quickly, unfortunately. I've really enjoyed my ColourPop lip products in the past. I've talked about it many times. I love them. Like if I had to say my favorite lip products, I would be listing off ColourPop products. I really enjoy using them. I think that they are good. However, you don't need to collect them all. Like you don't need 30 of them at one time, because there's no way you are ever going to be able to use them enough to justify that. So I don't know. I just would really caution people before buying too many lip products to see what you're actually going to use and what's realistic for your life. I mean, that's really the important thing. It doesn't matter what anybody else says. You have to think about what's important for you. This goes for this video too. I'm not holding anybody to any standards. This is just my opinions, my thoughts, my feelings, and maybe they might help somebody who's really stuck on purchasing some of these things. Because there really is that collect them all, and there's no prize with collecting all ColourPop products. There's no prize if you complete your collection of Super Shock products. There's no prize if you have every single ultra satin or ultra matte lipstick. You don't win anything. You lose money. And of course, I'm sure people are sick of me saying this, but I have to put this in here. I'm really #blessed to be Canadian, but I sure wish that I could get things shipped to me faster and cheaper. That's an easy way to talk me out of anything that I have to purchase from an international supplier, because it's gonna take so freaking long for me to get it. So, anyway. Thank you for watching this. If you made it all the way to the end and you didn't leave because you were offended by some weird attachment to some fictional character. Anyway, I had fun doing this. I really did. Like, I know people really like harp on the negativity, but it's fun. It's fun to talk about these kind of things. And honestly, don't take it too seriously because it's just makeup and it's just one person's opinion. That's it. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what other brands you would like me to tackle or any sort of topics that you would like me to tackle as well. I would love to know what kind of videos you would love to see. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day or night, and I hope we get a chance to chat soon. Bye for now. I know there's gonna be at least one person who's like, oh, who does she think she is? She's not like the other girls. It's not about that at all. Like, give me a break, Karen. Stop with that nonsense. Stop pitting girls against each other, because that's not what this is about. We're talking about makeup, and I can't help but think about the Elton John song, Bitch Is Back, every single time, because I just laugh when people are like, oh, she must think she's so much better than everybody else. And I just think of like that Elton John song, which is like making fun of himself, which is like the bitch is back. I can bitch because I'm better than you. And that just goes in my head all the time, because that's what I imagine people think that I'm like when I like sit down to film these videos. I'm just like, here I am, another day of being better than everybody because I don't have money, because I'm broke. It's so ridiculous. So anyway, I just wanted to tag that on at the end. Thank you so much for watching. Again, bye for now.